Hello, my name's Steve. I recently started selling things on eBay, starting with a big pile of Ladybird books that my wife inherited from her mother. We've got about 200 of them. I've sold a few already. I've got a big pile still to go. And I thought I'd share some of them with you and tell you about some of the things that I've learned whilst looking through them. And the first thing that I thought I'd tell you about is how to age a Ladybird book to tell what its vintage is, whether it's the first edition, and hence whether it might be worth anything. Nothing's worth huge money as far as I can see, but some are more valuable than others. And what you'd be looking for really is a first edition. Now, many books on eBay will say that they're first edition Ladybirds when in fact they might not be. There are a few clues that you need to look for, so let me run through some of these. This particular book, Exploring Space, which is the ninth title in Series 601, Ladybird Books of Achievement. I think this is a first edition, and let me explain why. First of all, opening it up, I can see that it says first published in 1964. Now, normally books will say that they're published in a particular year, and if it's not a first edition, they will give you a rundown on what year it was printed in, what printing number it is, and so on. Ladybird books don't do that; they just have the first publication date. So there are other clues to look for. One of them is the fact that this has a 2 and 6 price label. Now, the price label is quite often a good thing to look for because we know what Ladybirds were costing at particular points in time. So this is a good clue that this was published pre-decimalisation in the 1960s. So that's a good indication that at least it's an early one. Next thing to look for is the list on the back of the book. And you'll find on the back of many of these books that there is a list of titles in that particular series. And we can see from this that Exploring Space is number 9 on the list. It's the last one on the list down here. So that means that we know this was printed after all of these other titles. And as it's the last in the list, that's a good indication that this might be a first edition. Wouldn't be definite about it, but it is a good indication. I'll contrast that with this book, which is The Story of Flight. Now, if I open this again to the title page, I can see that it was published in 1960. It's got a 2 and 6 label, so we know it's a 60s book. However, Story of Flight is number 1 in the series, and as you'll see from here, we've got 9 titles with Exploring Space as number 9. Exploring Space was published in 1964. This was published in 1960s. Got to be a reprint. So that's a good way to tell. And you'll find, if you go online, you'll find a list of what Ladybird was charging for which books when. Now, another thing to look for is whether or not the book has a dust jacket. Those two that I just showed you haven't. This one has. This is quite an early one. I think it will be from the 50s and 60s. Let me show you some of the features of this. First of all, as I said, it's got a dust jacket. Take the dust jacket off, and underneath you'll find a line drawing. And quite a lot of the early ones, that's how they came. This has also got a 2 and 6 price label on it. And in addition to that, what you will notice is that on the end papers, there is a design. And that design shows a ladybird symbol just repeated over and over again. And on the back of the dust jacket, you'll see that symbol there. And what you'll notice about that ladybird is that its wings are open. So this open-winged ladybird shows that it's quite an early edition. Now, if you are familiar with Ladybird books, as I'm sure many of you are, you'll be familiar with the closed-wing ladybird, which is the usual modern version of the ladybird, which you'll see. So that's another good thing to look out for. Now, looking at this one, Good indication that it's early. It's not a first edition, I don't think, because it has got a list on the dust jacket which shows a later book in that series. So I don't think this is a first edition. It's certainly a very early one. In fact, yes, if I look in here, it very doesn't happen usually with Ladybirds, this one, but it does actually say there that this is a third edition. Still quite early, got a dust jacket, quite nice. I like it. And in that series as well, I've got the second book of British Birds. Again, this has got a dust jacket. Unfortunately, it is written on, so that's going to detract from it slightly. But it still has a dust jacket, still has the line drawing on it, still has the open-winged ladybird. But again, it's a nice book, and I hope that somebody will want to buy that. Now, I'm just going to take you through the rest of the books, and I'll go through them quickly, really, just to show you what I've got, and so that you can see the variety of these books. So I'll start with this one. Again, this is quite an early one. Again, it's got a dust jacket. The price has been clipped out of there, which suggests that somebody might have bought it as a gift. So, for a birthday or Christmas. This was published in 1961, and it's part of a short series of books called Flight 1, 2, 3, 4, and in this case 5. So Flight 5 Africa. It's quite a nice volume. I don't think there are that many around. This is in very good condition. What I would tell you about this is it was first published in 1961, and shall I say that its depiction of Africa is perhaps a little bit post-colonial, and a little bit dated in its attitudes to slavery and so on. Now, I'm not saying that it approves of slavery. It certainly doesn't. It condemns slavery in this book. What it doesn't do really is to acknowledge the role that the British Empire had in slavery, and its treatment of African people. So it's a little bit dated in its outlook, perhaps quite well-meaning in some ways, but interesting. Now, along in that series, I've got a couple of more. There's Flight 3 USA and Flight 1 Australia. So these still are quite old, but you'll notice they don't have their dust jackets with them, which to my mind affects the value a bit. Not sure how much, probably a reasonable percentage, I would have thought. And also you find quite often with these old books that there's a bit of, well, not damage exactly, but somebody for some reason has put a bit of yellow tape there, covering up something. Why? I don't know. But there you are. That's going to affect the value of them. Still nice books, still got them up to sale. Now, this pair of books, I think many of you will remember from school. The complete set, really, I suppose, of the Kings and Queens of England. I've got quite a few history books, series 561. So those are a couple. Also got Nelson. I've got the story of Charles II. Now, this is quite a nice book. Again, this one has got the dust jacket. The price has been clipped off it, but I'm pretty certain that it's 2 and 6 because it was 2 and 6 right up till decimalisation. This one was published in 1960. It's not a first edition, I don't think, but it might be. I just don't know. There is a list at the back. Charles II is not listed there at all. So quite possibly it is a first edition, but I'm not going to swear to it. But it's up for sale. Story of Clothes and Costumes. Again, it's got the 2 and 6 dust jacket. Here it is last in the list, so very likely again I think it's a first edition. We've got Houses and Homes, The Story of Plastics. Now this is series 601. Again, it's a Ladybird Achievements book. Having a look in this, it was published in 1972. So we know it's 70s at least. If we look at the back, it's got 15 pence written on it. Now, 15 pence was charged for Ladybirds in the early 1970s from, just looking at my list, from June 1971 up until the 30th of April 1974. So that gives you quite a wide range. This was published in 1972. I'd be quite confident there's a good chance that that will be a first edition, because again, it is last in this list. Yeah. I've got The Story of Medicine, Great Inventions, Time Calendar Clocks, The Story of Furniture, Charles Dickens. Now, Charles Dickens is a Ladybird adventure from history again. This one, again, is 15 pence. So let me have a look inside. What I like about this one is the list of Dickens characters that it's got on the inside cover. This was first published in 1965. 15 pence. Well, we know it's not a first edition. Got The Story of Churches, and also I've got The Story of Churches. Well, yeah, it's a doubler. You'll know as well as I do, if you collect books, at some point you're going to get a doubler, and then you're going to get another doubler. It goes on. These four books I've listed together because of they have similar theme. This is what to look for outside a church, what to look for inside a church, and then we've got Life in the New Testament and Animals, Birds and Plants of the Bible. So all those are listed. Right, let me move on. Excuse me, ma'am. Yes, I've got a lot of ladybirds. So I'll just run through the titles very quickly for you. So Do You Know Books first and second. I've got a series of books here that are, again, I've listed together because these are early books about numeracy. Now, some of these books aren't in the best condition. This one, for example, it's okay. It's solid enough. It's not damaged in any way. However, you will notice here that a child has coloured in the 9 there. Who that could have been, I don't know. And quite often they will have a name written there, owner's name in them. I always declare these things so that people know what they're buying. So those are listed as 4. Puss in Boots. There are quite a few of these in the series. I think this is one of only a small number that I've got of these. Not sure where the others are now, but Puss in Boots, I'm sure many of you will remember that one. Now here's a 3-book set that I've got together, not for any particular reason, except that they've got a sort of similar theme. They're a bit of a mixed bag, these 3. This one is quite an early one, published in 1962. It's got the dust jacket. It's also got a little bit of, it's got some writing on it. It's got one of those yellow labels which has been pulled off, and you can see there it is covering the ladybird symbol. Why anybody would want to do that, I really don't know, but there you have it. So those are 3. Another obvious pair, The Story of Science, books 1 and 2. So those are listed together. Now, here's a series of books that I remember from my childhood, which is People at Work. And these are quite popular. I've listed these as a bundle. The builders, shipbuilders, and pottery makers. I've also got another set of three which I've listed together: the miner, the farmer, and the fisherman. Those are quite nice sets. I certainly remember those from my childhood. I remember them being at school. I remember reading them quite a lot. Now, here are two books in that People at Work series, which I'm not sure I've seen before, and they certainly seem to be a little bit harder to come by than some of the others. We've got one on the customs officer, which certainly when I was a child, that might have been a bit of an arcane sort of topic, because international travel was not for me in the 1960s or the 1970s. In fact, this was published in 1972. And again, all the signs of being a first edition. It's last in the list there. It has got an 18p label stuck on it by foils, but I don't know when that's been put there. I'm not going to take it off because that might cause some damage, because this is like many Ladybirds, it's got a matte cover, and I don't want to damage that at all. And the next one, People at Work series in a hotel. I've not seen that before, really. Again, in a hotel, listed last there. Again, the foils 18p label. These three I've listed together for the obvious reason that they are the three utilities: water, gas, electricity. Now, I've listed these on a fairly hefty price because it is a nice set. I hope I'm going to be able to sell them, but I'm just experimenting really with prices at the moment. We'll have to see how that goes, but there we are, that's listed. The Ladybird Book of Handwriting. Now, I kind of remember this one. My handwriting's not great. I obviously didn't pay much attention to this book. But really, I guess the topic is more calligraphy than anything else. I don't know to what extent really kids are taught to write anymore. Certainly not to that sort of copperplate standard. But I'd say that was a book about calligraphy, really. And here we have 5 books in the Animals of the World series. No, sorry, 6 books in the Animal World series. And they're quite nice. These are in good condition. We've got sea and air mammals. We've got South American mammals. We've got Asian mammals. We've got North American mammals, Australian mammals, African mammals, and you'll be gutted to know there's 7 in the series. I haven't got the 7th, which is actually number 4 in the series, which is European mammals. Haven't got that. A bit disappointing, but I've listed this as a bundle. Hopefully somebody will buy it. And finally, in this section, I've got 2 books from series 536. So we've got The Seashore and we've got Pond Life. Right, I say finally, but there is actually one more pile of books that I want to show you. These are Ladybird Leaders, and this wasn't a series that I was particularly familiar with, to be honest. One of the things I notice about these is the very distinctive red and mostly white colour scheme of the books. The white does tend to show up the dirt a bit. However, they are all in pretty good condition. Again, I have listed these as bundles. I'm not sure exactly what my logic behind them was, but I think these 4, for example, I've got together castles, bridges, homes, and roads. Then I've got another set which are sort of 3 nature books. So we've got the stream, the tree, we've got songbirds, and then another bundle which is again a bit random really, dinosaurs, trains, under the ground, fire, and bread. So just a bit random, but a nice sort of bundle really. And then 2 books that I've listed as a pair. And again, what I've got here is coffee, and I've got chocolate and cocoa. Now, there was another one called tea, which would have gone nicely with these 2, but again, I'm gutted I haven't got it. But there you have it. That's just some of the books I've got. I've got more ladybirds that I'm going to be listing. I might share them with you, or I might perhaps do a video about some of the other things that I've been buying and sorting through. That's it for now. Goodbye.